Hello, I'm here today with Dr. Chris Tecce, runner, psychologist, and musician. Chris and I met in Wellesley, Mass. Many years ago through music, and then later in the outpatient hospital setting working with eating disorders. Chris ran marathons as a young adult, took a few years of a hiatus, and has been back running for the last few years, which has been quite remarkable. And he's here with me today by phone so that I may ask a few questions about the psychology required for long-distance training and what that has to do with this pandemic. Why? Because many of you know that I've been following Dr. Michael Osterholm, a well-known and respected epidemiologist who is asking us to really change our perspectives and think of this as not a sprint, but really a marathon. So welcome, Chris.
Hi, Julie.
How are you?
Doing good, thanks.
Good.
Thank you very much for inviting me to join you.
Yes, thank you so much. So anyway, what are your thoughts or your perspectives on training for just generally a marathon? What made you interested in this whole concept?
When you look at a marathon by the numbers, I've always been amazed by people who can do this. An average marathon lasts for about 4.5 hours, and during that time, a person runs about 44,000 steps to complete it.
Wow.
And when you stop and think about it, every step you run, you're taking a small jump into the air. You're fighting gravity with a force about 2 times your body weight, which is an effort that, is pretty uncomfortable for the body over a long period of time. On the flip side, it also means that being airborne for most of those 4.5 hours, if you think about it, it's kind of an exhilarating feeling.
Wow.
There's an excellent book called Born to Run that describes how running long distances many, many years ago helped humans survive evolution. And it was then a dangerous and changing environment. So when you think about it, the ability to endure physical challenges for long periods of time is literally imprinted on our DNA.
Wow, that's fabulous. Great. So tell me a little bit about the physical preparation that goes into that.
Training for a marathon has to be one of the most challenging tests of physical and mental endurance, endurance and strength. You have to very gradually and patiently build up the miles that you're running over time. And for those of us in Boston, we're snowing today actually, in the Boston area who are training for the Boston Marathon, that usually means going out in cold and snowy, windy weather, and sometimes on slippery roads during the months of January, February, and March. And along with that, there's a sense of certainty, which you have to push through. Sometimes, it's not always going to be a good day. Sometimes you have tough days where muscle gets strained or you just feel low energy or whatever, and you have to accept less than what you hoped for.
Yeah.
And similarly, in the situation with the pandemic, right now, we're not sure what to expect each day. And we're learning that there are times and certain things we can do to keep moving forward and just try to get stronger in the process.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think that for a marathon, it's also important to train with others, for support, encouragement, company. The long runs go by much more quickly when you're with other people, especially whether you're talking or just staying quiet and keeping each other company. So what we're doing right now is in a similar way to just support each other through this corona crisis through email and text, phone calls, video chats, which you and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
So we can all have more faith and hope.
Absolutely.
So we can share this uncertain journey together.
Yes. And what about the emotional preparation that goes into training for the marathon? I know I spoke with Dave McGilvery about this last week as well, but I'm so interested from your perspective as a psychologist as well.
Yeah, thanks. There's a great quote from the well-known psychologist and philosopher William James, who once said, most people never run far enough on their first wind to find out that they've got a second.
Love it.
And this is something that most endurance athletes learn just by default as they keep pushing themselves forward and going further than they thought they could go. One skill that I find is useful is visual imagery. Take the time to practice seeing in your mind's eye how you want things to go in the future, and then feeling excited about that outcome during the process. Many professional athletes, and even down to high school athletes now, take time before their event to visualize themselves, either crossing a finish line, or scoring a goal or a touchdown or basket that wins a game. That way your mind becomes used to the idea of actually doing it. So once you're in that competitive situation, it's easier to do it.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and I would love to hear a couple of tips, maybe 3 or 4 tips that you have about, again, what we can do during this pandemic.
Sure, yeah. In my work with clients, I try to warn them to be careful about not having too much of what I call an external locus of control. Mm-hmm. And that is when their sense of themselves depends on how things are going outside of them in their environment or what people might be saying about them. Instead, it's better to have a little more of an internal locus of control. Mm-hmm. So you're aware of the ways that you can take control of situations and feel better about yourself. One way to do that is I encourage my clients to make a list of their personal strengths. And this is not something people usually do, and at first it can be hard since we're all usually so busy focusing on things that need to get done. But once you have a better awareness of your own unique set of qualities, challenges don't seem quite so overwhelming because you have ways to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And lastly, it's also helpful to have some basic stress reduction strategies. One of them that's very easy to do is called sensory grounding, which means to focus on stimulating each sense separately in a soothing way. Like for a little while, just focus on looking at photos that make you happy, or taking a hot shower or bath, or listening to some instrumental music. Whatever makes you feel more relaxed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Those are great. Those are really great tips, Chris. And I so appreciate your time today. And I hope that other people will feel, really empowered in this process, because that's really what these times are for, is for self-empowerment and getting through it and knowing that we will get to the other end of it. So thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me, Julie. My best wishes to you and all your listeners as we all get through this together.
Yes, thank you so much. And enjoy your snow while I'm enjoying my sun.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
You too, Julie.